Happy Saturday morning, and a few of you early Sunday night. Uh, we are here to do another one of our regular Saturday morning Zoom sessions. And um, I looked at my notes, and we started this April 4th of 2020. So a little over a year ago. We should have announced this last year. This is this is session 42, um, which is the answer to everything. And I was just figuring that means 52 weeks in a year, 42 sessions. We've missed 10. There must be 10 holidays a day, some that are personal holidays I decided we were going to take anyway. But welcome back. And I thought, well, one of the things I thought about was who am I going to get to talk this week? I've got people lined up for coming weeks, but something I thought I would throw in this time. Actually, I have two presentations for today, and if the first one dies out with conversation, we'll go into the second one, and otherwise we'll just save that for another time. I was going to talk about showmanship, and we have had two sessions, two different presenters on showmanship already, and they're probably showier people than I am. I've had to work at becoming at doing things to make myself come across as a showman presenting things, and they're little. I'm going to share a few tricks that I've done that have helped me make it more showy. Dave, I see the link worked.
Yes, it did.
Good.
Good to see you.
The I think the other presentations have been more some of the theory of presenting and the reasons for it and what have you. And what I'm going to talk about here are just some tricks that each of you can apply that may help. Or Brian can apply and tone down his showmanship. Brian's not afraid to make a fool of himself in a professional way, something that my inhibitions have not really allowed. But I work at some of these to help. Anyway, as a start, newer callers, and I was stretched newer for many years in this respect, would deliver calls like head square through, right and left through, swing through. And if you just trick number one, just add a spark to your voice. Head square through, right and left through, swing through. It just makes a difference if you do that. It just adds a little bit of what have you. One of the things that I like to think about is the way radio announcers on the news or MCs on disc jockeys rather, they have a little hype in their voice all the time. You know, today we're going to have great weather. And by the way, there was a car crash on the other side of town. Actually, I noticed a slight grin on Martin's face. I gave that conversation once at ECTA in Europe, and they said, well, here the news announcers just read the news and they don't make a big deal about it. So I guess that applies to wherever you are. But you definitely should deliver messages with the emotion of whatever the message is, but just give some hype to it. Now, one physical thing that works for me is if I just put a physical smile on my face. When I say hello to you, or when I say hello to you with a big smile on my face, you can hear that. I can feel the difference, and I'm pretty sure you can hear the difference. And to do that, because to me, Smile, I have to remember that's with the ends up because it's not a natural place for my face to fall. Um, I've trained myself enough so that the second the needle hits the record, or now we can say the second the music starts, my face does go into a smile. Um, and I think I've learned to do that here in these presentations too pretty well. At least some kind of a smile, not a big one, but what have you. Um, and one of the things I've done to help me remember that is I used to have a picture of my son when he was a year old. He's 52 now. uh, that just had such an infectious smile on it. You looked at it and you couldn't help but smile. And when I misplaced that, I finally just got a smiley face or such. But you just put a picture like that right on the table next to your amplifier. And every time you look down, it'll just remind you to smile. And it helps bring a spark across. I want to try something here. Um, I would like to see all of you just say, I'm going to have you say heads square through, swing through, boys run. And then we're all going to put a big smile on our face and say it. Now, if you want to remain muted, fine. If you don't, that'd be even more fun. So, what are we going to do? Head square through, swing through, boys run. Ready, go. Head square through, swing through,
boys run.
Boys run.
The timing was pretty bad on that. We didn't leave enough time for the square through. I didn't want to go square through and to go, it's four hands around. Anyway, let's try putting a physical smile on our faces. Ooh, this hurts. Now say it. Head square through.
Head square through.
Swing through.
Swing through.
Boys run.
Boys
Feel
run.
different inside?
And liberty and justice for all.
Thank you to the penguin. Flamingo, rather. Think about that. Now, Tony, I don't want to pick on you, but you're one of those rare people that I look up and you don't smile and you have a straight face. And when you're presenting, but most of the time I don't look up at you and you've got that spark in your voice anyway. You really know how to deliver that exciting sound, even though your face is fairly straight while you're doing it. As I say, I don't want to pick on you, but you're getting the point across anyway with the spark in your voice. And I'll give you a second to defend yourself, and I see you're doing it by staying muted. That's good.
I'm the only Tony here.
Yeah, you're the only. You're the only one I was noticing.
I was always the shy, skinny kid in the corner, and I spent a lot of time when I was a teenager. I spent a lot of time in my room listening to records with and without calls. And I'm also, as some of you know, a big fan of the Gilbert and Sullivan comic operas.
Yes.
So I would listen to the recordings of those too. So even in the days when I wasn't thinking so much about my facial expression or realizing that if I smile, it's going to sound better, I was learning how to imitate the people who did have a smile in their voice.
And it shows, because when dancing to you, there's really a spark there. And I'm reminded when I look up at you that, of course, Tony does mostly contras and traditional squares, and in that culture, there's more emphasis on the music, on the band, than there is on the caller. So it's kind of a different thing, but it really comes across. There's a lot more than just prompting that you do, Tony, but there's enthusiasm and spark in your voice. But so anyway, that's one thing to try, is just physically smile. Remember to put a picture down, something that'll make you remember to smile, and physically do it, and it makes a difference. Another trick that I found was that when you give a call, each call is important. Make it sound important. Don't apologize for calls. Let's say I want to do a spin chain through and I want to get them into parallel waves. Don't say heads square through. What the heck? We do that all the time. Do-si-do-do wave, good. Now spin chain through. Make every call important. Head square through. Don't apologize for it. Do-si-do-do wave. They've done it a million times, but make them think it's a special call. Now do your spin chain through. A real expert at this, he's since passed away, was Dick Ledger. Dick was a very interesting caller because he was very popular, and he was somewhat stuck halfway between the contra scene and the western scene, but he was really well liked because he was a super entertainer. And one of the things, one of the things that people say Dick was great because he played the guitar when he did it. But he also, if you get a chance on YouTube, you can hear it. He makes every call sound important when he delivers them. Heads past the ocean, extend, recycle, make them think it's not only that last square through 3/4, there's an element left. Every call is important. If you emphasize every call, it makes a difference to your dancers. I heard a quote on the radio once, and this was some performer, I can't remember what, definitely not square dance related, but he said something that I've written down and used frequently. When you're on stage, it's better to be ridiculous than mediocre. Put that extra thing in there. People will, again, granted, you don't have to be ridiculous off stage, but on stage, it's something that, again, you'll be remembered for, assuming you don't do something stupid ridiculous, but it's better to be ridiculous than mediocre. And that's a quote that I try to remember when I go on stage on occasion. I have a note here on how to be enthusiastic to build a singing call number, but I don't really want to get into that unless we really have people that are wondering. But I just a little background. I went to a dance once where Yikes Cameron, a New Hampshire caller, had been calling, and he had the people climbing the walls at the end of that. And he said, "Oh, that was great. I got to do what he did and try and sell some singing calls." I've also heard Ken Bauer do things like that. And I tried this, and it didn't really work. And I added this, and it didn't really work. And I tried this, and it didn't really work. And I finally went to my mentor and say, "How do you sell a singing call?" Not that he was known for doing that, but he was known for being able to analyze things. And he said, "Try this." And I said, "I did." "And add this." And I did. "Add this." And I did. "And try this." "Oh, I hadn't thought of that." "And try this." "Oh, I hadn't thought of that." And it worked. I was able to sell singing calls. And it took it's better to be ridiculous than mediocre to get there, but it worked. Let's see. I guess, I think I said it was going to be a fairly short presentation. It's gotten longer than I thought already, but there are a couple things I wanted to throw in. I want to warn about gimmicks and quirks. Some people, I guess it was Yikes Cameron again, mentioned to me once, if you're going to do a gimmick, plan to live with it the rest of your life. He said, when I was starting out, just to get attention, I used to wear a different hat every tip. And that, people knew me for that. And eventually I got popular enough, he was a really good caller, popular enough so I didn't have to do that. So I didn't. Years later, they're still asking me about my hats. If you want to use a gimmick like that, plan to live with it for the rest of your life. I think Cal Golden and his changing fancy suits was another example of that. Other quirks that people have that will set you aside, not in a good way, things to remember not to do. While you're calling, don't turn your back on the audience and look at the curtain behind you, unless you're doing a special gimmick showing that you can still handle choreography without watching them. Some dancers get a kick out of it. Let me actually jump to the last thing. my first wife and I used to do a lot of dancing here in New England, and we danced to different callers all the time. And we noticed that many callers had different quirks, and we would play Who Am I afterwards, just do some quirk that that specific callers did that they probably weren't aware of, but other dancers probably were aware also, and kind of detracts from the calling, from the dancing, and from his actually good delivering of stuff. One was I turning your back on the dancers. One of them I have written down as reading from the great cue card in the sky. We had some callers that would always be looking up above the dancers towards the ceiling as if they were reading something off of a big teleprompter up there, rather than looking at the dancers and connecting with them. Some dancers, some callers would be busy up there instead of connecting with the floor, playing with their records, filing the records away, while they were calling, or preparing records for the next tip. Or in the case of MP3s and computers, just playing around. And I haven't seen any playing solitaire while calling yet, but pay attention to your dancers. Give them your attention, because they'll notice if you don't. Don't look at your watch. Geez, I wonder how much time is left before I get to go home, or before the refreshment break. Dancers are going to look up and see you doing that, and they're going to think, oh, he's bored. He wants to move on. He's hoping this is over soon. It comes through. We've had dancers that pace back and forth. It's a quirk that the dancers will notice and distract from them. Don't call with your hands in your pocket. I guess it would be one hand. The other would be holding the microphone. Some people concerned, and the last thing on my list here is some people are concerned about people tapping their foot. It's a distraction. I used to tap my foot, probably still do, to give myself a physical feel for the beat of the music. But some dancers were distracted by that, I found out, because I had dancers come up to the edge of the stage and sit on my foot, so I couldn't do it. Of course, I was pretty good at tapping with the other foot just to keep the music going. But all these little quirks are things that people notice. So if you're going to do something like that, try not to, but if you are, pick something that it's okay for people to go with. So in brief summary, just the little, as I said, not showmanship talk, but a few hints. Talk with a spark in your voice. To do that, have a smile on your face. Make every call seem important. Don't apologize for certain calls just because I know we've done the swing through boys run Ferris wheel a lot, but that'll get you there with the music. Call it as if this is the first time they did it and it's exciting. Emphasize each call. Don't apologize. And it's okay. It's better to be ridiculous than it is to be mediocre.